Hi, I'm Shaun from Compton, and today we're going on a walk around Clerkenwell with the founder and CEO of Thirdway Interiors, Ben Gillam. In 2009, we helped Ben secure his first office. 15 years later, now with a workforce of over 200 people, we've just helped him secure his fourth. Today, we're going to visit each of those buildings to try and understand the journey.
Here we are.
Back to where it all began. So, 2009, we acquired this first office for you. How are you feeling?
30 St John's Lane. It's good to be back. You know, it makes me happy. Like it makes me feel like full of aspiration again. You know, when we came here, right? 2009, great financial crisis. Everyone's on their knees, right? I was pretty confident I could run D&B business. I was pretty confident I could build a team. I was pretty confident I could win work. Nobody else knew if I could. So, you know, this was the place where it happened, right? First win, first member of staff to come on board, first loss.
I mean, listen, for context, Farringdon in 2009 is not what it is in 2025. So why did you pick Farringdon?
Before I started Thirdway, I was working in Mayfair, and I had a great time for those 3 years of learning Mayfair and around. But I think there was three things that really just sort of caught my imagination with Farringdon, with Clerkenwell. The first was, like, I have to go northeast, southwest. You know, my projects could be anywhere in London, so it's incredibly well connected. So that sense of actually like running around in multiple projects as a startup, it was a great location for us, particularly here. I think too, whilst Farringdon now is, you know, incredibly known for its like creative sector and its bars and its startup culture, it did begin then. It did begin in 2009.
You were right at the beginning.
And I felt Clerkenwell and Farringdon just caught the zeitgeist of the time. Like the crisis that was out there created loads of opportunities for startups, and many of the companies we were meeting who were starting at the same time who we were pitching to, were also looking at this area. So it just felt like spiritually it was the right place to be as a startup at the time.
After 3 years in St John's Lane, now in 2012, Ben made the choice to move to bigger premises. Let's go and check out his second office. So we're now in Farringdon's best kept secret, Bleeding Heart Yard, which was the home of Thirdway's second office. So Ben, I guess two questions. One, you decided to stay in Farringdon. It'd be good to understand the rationale there. And two, given you were going through such crazy growth, taking another kind of a conventional office building as opposed to the temptation of, a serviced office at the time with all the flexibility built in. It'd be interesting to hear your kind of decision around both those questions.
Yeah, I think like the root of it, like the real heart of it is the same. It's like authenticity. So the reason we called the business Thirdway was we really saw the need for an alternate approach to design and build. Design and build, there was a moniker, wasn't there, like builders in suits. And I think it was fair. But I think, you know, if you look back in that sort of early 2000s period, it was a lot of suits running around, putting up plasterboard and pretending they could talk about design. We refer to ourselves as designers in hard hats, and like we love that slightly the grittiness of Farringdon. We love that idea that actually when people would come to this space, like it would resonate with the people we were and the business we were. You know, at the time everyone was wearing a suit. We deliberately never wore suits. You know, we were the first company to sort of turn up pitching in trainers, and you know, it seems so normal now. You know, what I aspired to have and the team aspired to have was a home, was a place that when people came in, it created that interest, that who we were and the work that we did was just laid bare, and they were invited into it. And yeah, there's no doubt about it, like this yard, this building, that top floor and the other floors we grew into in the building were like just a key part of that.
Our first business, Hatton Real Estate, started at a similar time to Ben's, and part of our journey, I would say in my whole career, the best part of our journey, I would say, to date, was the time we both spent in this building. We were late 20s, early 30s. We kind of didn't know what we were doing. But again, I kind of go back to that piece around culture. I feel like this is kind of where, from our perspective anyway, this is kind of where our culture really began. And I guess for you, it's probably quite similar.
Yeah, I think what an office can really do is be a launch pad for the culture that you are and you aspire to be. And I think like that's what this did for us. You know, it captured who we already were, and it gave us the room to grow and make that culture even more special. And as you said, they were incredibly special times. You know, if this yard could talk, it would sing.
It really would. Right, so office number 3 is Moorlands, which sits at the junction of the Clerkenwell district and the Old Street district. And I think, Ben, this is what I'd call your big boy move. You went from 4,000 square feet in a beautiful yet scruffy building. You moved to 16,000 square feet. I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you about this building was, we've kind of touched on culture, but how did you retain it going from 4,000 feet where everyone can see each other to 16,000 square feet where everyone's a bit more spread out and sparse?
Yeah, great question. So I think, to be honest, transporting the culture was quite easy because we were so sure of our identity and what mattered to us and how we cared for our staff and what we wanted for them, and also how we were so willing to integrate our clients into that culture. Our culture wasn't behind the curtain, it was out there to be embraced. That we knew when we saw this space, it would work for our culture. This sort of central hub really is the meeting point. This is where clients and staff and suppliers and stakeholders would all have to pass through the office.
It's the heartbeat.
Really, yeah, it really is. And it always has been. And even when we go to the next space, as we've been briefing, it's we can't lose this heartbeat. We have to find a way to create that same function there. So that was the first bit. So in some ways that was the easier bit, but to be honest, the harder bit was a year into being here. We were growing at such a rate. Our headcount doubled over our first year here.
Doubled here?
Doubled here. So we moved over with about 70 people,
okay,
and we're up to 130 within 12, 18 months of being here. And actually it was harder then, right? Because you had a nucleus who sort of knew it and knew what good looked like and bad looked like. Then you had a nucleus of people who had no idea about it but kept hearing about it. So that's when we had to codify it. And you'll see as you walk around, we've just got our core values just dotted all over the place, just remind people of what it is that made our culture special.
This particular office for me holds a very special place in my heart, and no one believes me when I tell them this story, they don't. But if you're in real estate, and whether you're an agent or a landlord or just in the real estate industry, you will be familiar with the term Cat A+. It's a kind of a terminology that's been adopted not just in London and the UK, but globally. The truth is, and it is the true story, it's a very, very true story, Cat A+ as a terminology was invented in that boardroom by me and Ben.
That's correct.
True story.
That's correct.
Now, every time I tell someone that story too, they don't believe me, but it was the truth. So we're now in building 4, 224 St John Street, where the ink is barely dry following the signature on the lease. So this journey was just over 18 months. We viewed over 40 buildings. This building, I guess, follows a lot of the same characteristics as your previous, in the sense of it's not kind of glass and steel and really modern, it's heritage, it's characterful. But this one's slightly different in the sense of it's the first building that's actually yours. Was that something that was important for you as part of this journey?
Yeah, I think we gave ourselves a really tough brief to try and find a building. The first one was, particularly coming out of COVID, and the world's still very messed up around working conditions and hybrid working. We really felt like the office needs a home.
Yep.
And we wanted to find a space that, whilst it wasn't a showroom, it was a place where you go, if you want to see what an office should be like, or the art of the possible for an office, this is where you come. So we really wanted somewhere that felt like it could be a home for the office.
I guess my final question to you is this going to be your forever home? And the reason I ask that, right, is our building on St John Street, I've kind of always said it's my forever home. Even if we quadrupled in size, I love it so much there that I never want to leave. I guess you can't feel that way yet because you're not in it. But
it's a good question.
What does the next 10, 15, 20 years look like?
Good question. Well, if I think of the journey today, we started at St John's Lane. When we left there, we turned over £1 million.
Yep.
When we went to Moorlands, so when we left Bleeding Heart Yard, went to Moorlands, we were turning over about £60 million. I remember when we went in for the first time, Mason said, Mason's my business partner, said, what can't we win from this building? What can't we win from this office? And we're leaving there turning over £140 million. So we're coming here at that base. So will it be for our forever home? It's going to feel like it. When we arrive, we're going to know it's home. When we arrive, we're going to want to be here. It's going to be engaging, and we're going to do great things here. But we work in a wonderful market. It's ever evolving. When we started on this journey, K+ didn't exist. Now it's a massive part of the ecosystem.
Revenue, yeah.
So look, let's have some fun over the next 10 years of our lease here and probably beyond that as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. Well, we started with
pleasure.
a hug. We've obviously got in with a hug. So good luck with the fit out, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks for your time.